If you talk to yourself out loud, if your desk looks like a crime scene, if you lie awake at 2 a.m. overthinking a text message you sent 3 years ago, there's a psychological reason for that, and it's not what you think. By the end of this video, you might realize the habits you've spent your whole life apologizing for were never flaws to begin with. Most people assume genius looks like straight A's, chess trophies, and a 180 IQ score. Someone calm, composed, effortlessly brilliant. But real intelligence research tells a very different story. Psychologists have spent decades studying the quiet, invisible habits of highly intelligent people, and almost none of them match that image. Most of them don't look like strength at all. They look like flaws. They look like the things you've been told to fix, the mess you keep meaning to clean up, the worrying you keep trying to switch off, the bluntness you keep trying to soften. Today, we're breaking down 7 signs that, according to psychology, might mean you're smarter than you've ever given yourself credit for. Stick around for sign number 7, because it's the one almost nobody wants to admit to. Sign number 1, you talk to yourself. If you narrate your own actions out loud, okay, where did I put my keys? No, that's not right. Try again. In an empty room, alone, congratulations. You're not losing your grip on reality. You're doing something your brain finds genuinely useful. Psychologists who study self-directed speech have found that talking through a task out loud can sharpen focus and improve performance, especially on problems that require searching for something or working through steps in order. The theory is simple. Speech forces structure. When a thought stays trapped inside your head, it can stay vague and half-formed. The moment you say it out loud, you're forced to organize it into language, into a sequence your brain can actually follow and correct in real time. So that habit of muttering to yourself while cooking or coaching yourself through a hard email isn't a quirky embarrassment. It's your brain using an external tool, your own voice, to think more clearly. Sign number 2, your space is a mess. There's a well-known study out of the University of Minnesota that put people in either a clean, orderly room or a cluttered one, then gave both groups the same creative task. The results surprised a lot of people. Participants in the messy room generated more original ideas than the ones in the tidy room. The explanation researchers proposed is that physical disorder can loosen mental order. A rigid, highly controlled environment seems to nudge people toward conventional thinking. Follow the pattern, stay inside the lines. A chaotic environment does the opposite. It signals subtly that the usual rules don't fully apply here, which frees the mind to wander toward less obvious, more original connections. That doesn't mean hoarding is a superpower, or that you should stop cleaning entirely. But that pile of papers you've been meaning to sort for 3 weeks might be a side effect of a mind that instinctively resists rigid structure, not evidence that you're falling behind. Sign number 3, you feel like a fraud. This is the one that surprises people the most. Imposter syndrome. That nagging, persistent feeling that you don't actually deserve your success, that you've somehow fooled everyone around you, shows up disproportionately in high achievers. Not in people who are actually underperforming, in people who are doing well. Here's the psychological logic behind it. The more competent you become in a subject, the more clearly you can see the full scope of what that subject contains, including everything you still don't know. A beginner doesn't know enough to see their own blind spots. An expert does. So paradoxically, expertise can make you feel less certain, not more, because your awareness of the unknown keeps expanding right alongside your actual skill. In other words, feeling like a fraud isn't proof that you don't belong in the room. It might be proof that you understand the room better than most of the people confidently claiming they do. Now, signs 4 through 7 get even stranger, and one of them is a habit that most people are actively, desperately trying to fix, without realizing it might already be working in their favor. Sign number 4, you get bored fast. Ever sat through a meeting, a lecture, or a slow conversation and felt almost physically restless, Like your brain was straining against the pace of everyone around you? Some psychologists link a low boredom threshold to higher processing speed. The theory is straightforward. A faster mind consumes information more quickly, which means understimulating environments, small talk, repetitive tasks, slow-moving explanations, simply run out of content for that brain sooner than they do for everyone else in the room. It's not that you lack discipline or patience. It's that your mental engine idles at a different speed, and idling for too long feels almost uncomfortable. That restlessness that gets labeled as an attention problem might actually be a signal that your brain processed the information 3 steps ago and is now waiting for the room to catch up. Sign number 5. Your humor is dark. Dark humor gets a bad reputation. It's often read as a sign of coldness or a lack of empathy. But research into humor comprehension tells a more interesting story. Studies have found that people who understand and enjoy dark humor tend to score higher on measures of both verbal and nonverbal intelligence, and tend to show lower levels of aggression, not higher. Here's why that might be true. Processing a joke about something taboo or tragic requires more cognitive effort than laughing at something safe and simple. Your brain has to hold two conflicting realities at once: the seriousness of the subject and the absurdity being pointed at inside it, and resolve the tension fast enough for it to land as funny instead of just uncomfortable. That's a more demanding mental task than most comedy asks of you. So the friend who makes the joke everyone's afraid to laugh at might not be the coldest person in the room. They might just be doing the most cognitive work. Sign number 6. You're a night owl. There's a well-known theory from evolutionary psychologist Satoshi Kanazawa proposing a correlation between higher childhood intelligence and a tendency towards staying up later as an adult. His explanation draws on what's called the Savannah theory of happiness, the idea that our brains are still calibrated for the ancestral environment where humans evolved, one where nightfall meant sleep, full stop, because there was nothing safe to do in the dark. Staying up late, by that logic, is evolutionarily novel. It's a modern behavior our ancestral instincts never had a reason to develop. And some research suggests that more intelligent people are generally more comfortable engaging in evolutionarily novel behavior because their minds are better equipped to adapt to and even prefer situations their instincts weren't originally built for. So if you've always felt more alive at midnight than at 7 a.m., it might not be a bad habit you picked up. It might be a sign your brain is simply more willing to override the ancient default setting. But the 7th sign is the one almost nobody wants to hear, because it's the exact trait most people have spent their entire lives trying to switch off. Sign number 7, you overthink everything. That habit of replaying a conversation from 4 years ago, rehearsing an argument that never actually happened, running through every possible way tomorrow's conversation could go wrong before it even starts. Researchers at Lakehead University in Ontario found a correlation between habitual worrying or rumination and higher verbal intelligence. Their explanation is fascinating. Worry and rumination essentially function as an internal simulation. Your brain is running through hypothetical scenarios, testing outcomes, rehearsing language, anticipating responses, and that process draws on the same cognitive machinery involved in verbal reasoning and complex thought. Put simply, the overactive mind that won't let you sleep isn't malfunctioning. It's running simulations that most brains never bother running at all. It's doing extra, unpaid overtime, exploring possibilities other people never think to consider. That doesn't mean chronic worry is comfortable, or that it doesn't come with real cost to your peace of mind. It absolutely can. But it does mean the trait itself isn't a design flaw. It's a byproduct of a mind that's unusually thorough. Now here's the pattern underneath all 7 of these signs, and it's worth sitting with for a second. None of them look like traditional intelligence. Not one of them looks like confidence or certainty or effortless brilliance. They look like inconvenience, restlessness, self-doubt, insomnia. The very traits most of us have been trained since childhood to correct. That's because intelligence, from a behavioral science standpoint, was never really about knowing more facts than the next person. It's about how your brain handles uncertainty, how it processes contradiction, tolerates ambiguity, and searches for the less obvious answer instead of settling for the first comfortable one. That kind of mind rarely looks tidy from the outside. Often it looks like exactly what you've been trying to fix about yourself. And here's the uncomfortable part underneath all of this. Society has spent generations quietly training people to suppress almost every trait on this list. Sit still, stop worrying, get organized, tone down the jokes, go to sleep at a normal hour, be predictable, be easy. Which raises a real question worth sitting with. How much untapped intelligence gets quietly optimized out of people every single day simply because it doesn't look the way we've been taught genius is supposed to look? To be clear, none of these 7 signs are a diagnosis, and this isn't a checklist for certifying anyone a genius. They're correlations drawn from psychological research, not guarantees, and human intelligence is far too complex and multidimensional to reduce to 7 bullet points. 2 people can share every trait on this list and have completely different minds. But if you recognized yourself in 2, 3, or more of these, it might be worth reconsidering the story you've been telling yourself about your own mind. The traits you've spent years quietly apologizing for, hiding, or trying to train out of yourself might be the very ones worth understanding instead. Sometimes the mind that feels the hardest to live with is the one working the hardest. If this made you look at yourself a little differently, hit subscribe. Cipher breaks down the psychology behind human behavior every single week. And drop a comment below. Which one of these 7 hit closest to home for you? I read every single one. See you in the next video.